I was recapping in my mind for a moment there.
Welcome back to the Sleep Well Journey podcast. I literally cannot believe this is the start of season 3. You guys have been incredible. We are so excited. We are so thankful to have had the input and questions and all of the guests that we had in season 2. And we are back. I am Dr. Callie Hale.
And I'm her better half, Dr. Kyle Hale.
You are definitely my better half. And I'm so thrilled to be sitting back here again. We need to recap the last year, really, and kind of update everybody on what we're doing now and where we're at. It's been an incredible year.
Mm-hmm. I was recapping in my mind for a moment there. I think that'd be a really cool way to start this episode, but also back up for a minute because we're in a new space. We've had a lot of not just life changes, but professional changes too. That of course, all the professional changes affect the life changes. But I feel like, between in the last 12 months have been some of the most exciting 12 months in my adult life. It's just been
it's wild,
crazy, a lot of changes that are, leaving things that we've built, also elevating things that we were building. And so I guess the way I wanted to start the episode from my perspective was that just say it out loud. Like this podcast is fun for you and me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know it's really fun for me and I hope it's fun for you too. I think it is. That's what you keep telling me. And that it's an opportunity to share things with, we as Inform Me, it's no longer 9 listeners. It's now 142.
That's great.
And I think you and I could kind of spread to, or have one leg in the sleep space and then one leg in the it's all gonna work out space, because it's been kind of hectic, and it still is really hectic. And as I was reflecting, we built this new room.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people the tables that we're sitting at right now that were handmade by a local carpenter and friend, Frank Manigold, who makes some awesome stuff. And when I'm looking at this list of previous guests that we had, and it's a super cool list. And these are all people that are just like awesome people to have in our circle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're very blessed.
So blessed. So I wanted to, I guess, start off by, let's just go down the list. And I don't know. I'm sitting here looking at the first guest that we had.
There's just been so much. It's been so great because we had such an incredible group of people coming on and talking about health and wellness and longevity. And to me, this is very much fun. You said, is this fun? This is so fun. It's really kind of crazy to me that we have a podcast, and that over 100 people would care what we have to say. And you guys have DM'd me on Instagram and told me, when is your next episode? I do feel bad. It has been so long since we put one out, but we were undergoing construction in the suite next to one of our offices to build this room specifically for this aspect. And I'm so excited that it's finally done. We had a wild, fun summer. As you guys know, Kyle likes to race. So we drove all over the country. We were in the Midwest a lot racing and spending time with our kids. It was a beautiful time. I live for summer now when our kids are out of school. So, and it's just, again, it's so much fun. What we do is so much fun. The doctors that I mentor, we need to talk about the Sleep Well mentorship at some point too. It has been a wild year for me of just extending our reach in airway professionally, locally, at the doctor level, at the community level. Holy moly, it's October already.
I know. The last time we recorded anything was in April.
Which is totally unacceptable. Really sorry, guys. It has been a crazy year. But yeah, just like you said, looking at all the people that we've had and kind of recapping what was said. And hopefully for those of you guys that didn't hear it, you can go back to certain episodes and take a listen.
Yeah. And also one thing I noticed in all of these is, as I follow all these wonderful people online and socials, all of them are entrepreneurs, and all of them have done something to elevate themselves and their business. I'm not saying at all it's because of the podcast, but just since then, it's just cool that we have those kind of people surrounding us. So I think we did have a pretty awesome summer. I mean, it was just like constant fun, put a lot of miles on the pickup truck in the trailer, and stayed in a lot of hotels. And I think I finally figured out how to sleep good in a hotel. Just so. Yeah. What do you think is like? Let me just go back to like since we started the podcast, and like I remember you and I were sitting at the dining table at our rent house while our home was under construction. We decided to name this thing the Sleep Well Journey, and despite all the advice we were getting from very well qualified people, we decided to stick with the Sleep Well Journey. After doing, dozen and a half-ish episodes, what do you think is like, what does that name mean to you now?
I think it really expresses that health and wellness and longevity is absolutely affected by your sleep, and that your sleeping well is a journey. And in the space that I have the honor of teaching other dentists what I'm doing, to me, it is such an important thing that I drive home to them that this is not just the Callie show or the Dr. Matt show or the Dr. Camille show. It's like, this is a collaborative care for your patients when you decide to take on dental sleep medicine in your office. And it's a journey. It's a journey not only for the patient, for sure for the patient, because they get identified that they have an issue. They now have answers for something that maybe they've looked high and low for. But it's also a journey for that doctor as they are relearning some aspects of healthcare that they had never learned before. And I love the name. I'm glad we picked the name. And I feel like it really spans the public and the provider aspect.
Absolutely. My favorite word in that thing is the journey part, because the way that we did it 2 years ago and 3 years ago and 4 years ago isn't the way we're doing it now. I mean, we're moving forward and we're finding out what works and what doesn't work. And I remember I used to tell your dad this on like a regular basis, and now less often, thank goodness. But as we're growing up and we're finding ourselves professionally, and you and I have been together forever, and you look back at something you did 4 years ago and you thought, man, that guy was a moron. Like, this is me. I know you've been perfect.
No, I never thought that about myself. No,
yes, we all know.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I know. But and now it's happening less often, which maybe is bad that I'm not finding those things. But the journey part of this is the most fun. And accepting that we've made mistakes, accepting that we've done it wrong before, that doesn't mean we dig our head in the sand and say we're going to keep doing it wrong.
When you know better, you do better.
That's right. When you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about, obviously, like, you and I are along with Matt Hicks, are the founders of The Airway Dentist, the dental practice group based here in Houston. And it's been a passion project of mine. It's been a passion project of yours. But I want to shout out to a couple of dentists, because it's been like, as part of like this crazy summer that's kept us from recording anything in here.
So true.
They have been dealing with us too. And they've also been, they've been on a journey. They've been on a journey with us. They've been on a journey professionally. Dr. Amanda Aparicio.
Oh, heck yeah.
Has absolutely just, I mean, she has come so far in the way that she can communicate, in the way that she's built her confidence, in the way that, the way she communicates with her team now. I think
the people that she's helped in Sugar Land, Texas, are like, her review. I mean, check out her reviews, guys.
Yeah.
Like, the Airway Dentist in Sugar Land is absolutely crushing it. And the common theme that I've seen as I've watched her mature into the most wonderful airway provider is her empathy and her kindness towards her patients, like a very deep rooted care for their well-being. And that's not something I think you can teach. I don't. I think she was born with it, and it is in her DNA. And, she doesn't really need me as much as she did in the very beginning, but our conversations have matured and have gone to completely different levels when it comes to patient care and kind of the bigger picture aspect of what is this going to look like once I'm done with this patient. Like, so I'm super, super proud of her. And yeah, so shout out to Sugarland, the airway dentist.
Yeah. And she's had really, like, no one has better access to you than me and then maybe her. Okay. And I don't know, that journey part just really just resounds because she joined us right out of dental school, and she worked her butt off at several locations of ours. And then there's certain people that strike you as like, this person really wanted to do this and they were meant to do this. And she strikes me as that person because I think she wants to be a good dentist, which unfortunately is not as common as you would hoped it would be.
It is for the doctors in our groups.
Yes,
but
our group is
like
is
I would
awesome.
say globally, that's not always the case.
So,
I mean, I compare a lot of what Amanda and I got to do together, what Katie and I got to do together, Dr. Katie Goldberg, who's my airway associate at New Teeth Dental. And I always joke that she's literally like a copy and paste like of the treatments that we offer and how I talk with patients. And I'm super proud of her. And when we opened, Sugarland opened first, obviously we did a whole episode on the delays for those practices and, when they were supposed to open. And Amanda and I had to do so much of that virtually. That was my first time of like, okay, I drove down a lot, but it's over an hour from where we are. And with my other obligations, daily obligations, I realized if she and I can get on Zoom together, we will have an uninterrupted amount of time every single week where we can really dive into the nitty gritty. And it was amazing to me to figure out, thanks to that journey with her, what I could offer to doctors that want to learn this virtually. Not having to fly to see me, not having to come in and like, there is so much that I can provide and give permission for and be that mentor to over a computer. And she was a beautiful example of that. Yeah.
No, I mean, you were not there very often physically, but you were there and available. And so the next one I want to talk about is Camille. Camille just joined us.
Camille Peck. Shout out.
A few months ago. And
she's in Friendswood. She's at the Airway Dentist Friendswood.
She's in the Airway Dentist Friendswood. She's not yet full-time, but I think we're going to win her over full-time here in just a minute. But she has, someone's like a true believer. Like it's almost like some people take the delayed release pill of Airway, the delayed release Airway pill.
I'm obsessed.
She diluted it and injected it into her neck.
Oh my gosh. She was such a gift to me. And I hope she won't mind me sharing the story I don't think she will. But when when we were looking to hire, which we are again.
Yes.
But when we were looking to hire for a dentist to be at the Airway Dentist Friendswood, obviously Dr. Matt has been there consistently since inception of that office opening. And he and I have our hands full with the growth of the Airway Dentist. And it was time to find somebody who was going to be the heart and soul of that practice and stay there. We started looking for another doctor, and Camille slid into my DMs on Instagram, and we were just chatting about Airway, and she was very interested in having a conversation with me about working together. And I would love actually to have her on the podcast at some point to talk about what that conversation looked like from her end, because we had traditionally new grads that we were looking for to hire, and it had a whole lot to do with their
But when she was doing it, when she was sliding into DMs at that time, we were transitioning our mindset from hiring brand new grads to.
Yes. But we were still in that transition.
Yes,
like I was like, I don't know. And she's been out a long time. And, I was telling her, I just very frankly said, we haven't been hiring doctors that have been out 9 years because of a lack of malleability in what they believe in and how they practice and all of that. And she was like, I promise you can teach me anything and I will do it. I was like, oh my gosh, but also like reflecting on that, like what a true privilege, because who am I? Like, who am I that somebody is going to believe so wholeheartedly in what we are doing and what I am showing on social media in belief of this, to say, I will follow you no matter what. And I want to do that. And that is such a privilege. And Dr. Camille is a complete gem of a person. Like everybody there absolutely loves her. And I'm very proud of her. Her clinical skills are absolutely nuts. Like I'm also like, shame on me for thinking I wouldn't hire somebody who'd been out for 9 years, because she is such a winner, and she provides an incredible amount of value to the city of Friendswood, and she's already super popular.
Yeah, she is. She's killing it. And you know, she took the airway pill because as soon as she started coming to work for the airway dentist, she drug all of her neighbors in, her whole friend circle. I think half her church has come to the office already.
Absolutely.
She's been not just a great marketing tool. she's a fantastic dentist.
Well, you should see our text threads, because it will be like, I don't even know. It'll be like a random picture of somebody with retrognathic jaws. And she's like, I need to go talk to them. Do you think they need airway treatment? I'm like, 100%. Like, look at their pictures. So anyways, very proud of her. But I just think it goes to show like what we're able to do with the airway dentist and the impact that we can have in these kids' lives, how motivating that is, and why we are opening more and more offices to bring this service to right now Texas, but definitely thinking bigger one day.
Yeah. And just to maybe pause on that moment for just a second, we are hiring, and we're hiring with a pretty big goal. We're hopefully in the next year we can find 5 really awesome airway dentists. We are growing really fast. There's no secret to this that it's a value to a community. It's also the best way to practice dentistry. Like there is not a better way to practice dentistry. And as a guy who took all the all-in-4 courses, all the surgery courses, nothing's as rewarding as airway. And so if you're a really good dentist, we would encourage you to apply. If you're not a really good dentist, don't apply. Like absolutely don't. If you're not a really good dentist,
interested in airway and you want to be in the greater Houston area, maybe outskirts of that.
If you're not a really good dentist, also please don't apply. So, and we've got something really special, and
we do. Yeah, we're very protective of that.
Yeah, we're super protective, and that's why we were so protective over hiring or adverse to hiring people with experience, and because the clinical experience is something that we will help you with, because in airway you do need that help.
Absolutely.
But
there's the things you can teach and then the things you can't.
Right.
And I told Camille the same thing the very first time we were on the phone. I cannot teach you empathy and kindness. You either have that or you don't. Yep. And if you don't, no problem, but you're not the one for me. Yes. You know? And I literally have told every single one of like our doctors that are with us in these offices, like, it is an honor to be a part of that journey with you, because you're not going to need me forever. You're not. And I think a really, really good mentor is available during those times of needs, teaches you what you need to teach, and then you spread your wings and you fly. And I really feel like that's where these locations are right now. And it's exciting for me when we think of a new location coming and another dentist that I can empower with this information, because that saves more kids than anything else at this point. The bigger we can extend our reach, the better.
And so you started the Sleep Well mentorship program about a year ago.
Yeah, I guess we can talk about that for a second too. Yeah.
And I mean, this is, we kept thinking about like, what is the best way to train and educate our team, our dentist. And you don't need to do this shoulder to shoulder. There is some over the shoulder things that are really helpful, but I want to say like this is the 80-20 rule. 80% of it can be done with 100% just remote. And
so okay. So the Sleep Well mentorship. So we had the Sleep Well journey, and then I started the Sleep Well mentorship only because you forced me to do it.
Yeah.
Like it's so funny right now, because you were just like, you need to just start your own thing. And I don't know how many months you had to tell me that before the light bulb finally went on. And I was like, oh, hey, I should start my own thing. And you're like, yeah, I've been saying that for a while.
Yeah.
And I was really nervous to do that, because when you are operating at a level that we were, I worried, can I really communicate this stuff in a way that these doctors are going to find it valuable? We had those doctors, I'm so incredibly proud of y'all. Like any of you listening on this, where you guys have come from December of last year to now is, to me, just the most rewarding thing. And we've onboarded new doctors since, but those first 6 that were like, yeah, I'm joining you, I want to do this right now, they're still with me. It is like, it's like such an honor. And we are doing everything remotely. And that branched from the Sleep Well Mentorship. So we went from Sleep Well Journey podcast to Sleep Well Mentorship. And now I have the Sleep Well Start, which is a course that I'm doing, an all-day course for doctors that are just like, I just need a sleep 101. I need a full integrative, like adult and pediatric. They also want to learn what I'm doing in fixed expanders. Like, what is that actual protocol with our systems and our consent forms and my lab RXs, and that's been really fun too. Like, I'm just like, wow, the impact that we can have, and really just spreading that word of mouth. And it's been so much fun. It's been so much fun. I didn't think we'd have as many doctors in it that we do right now last December. And I hope they're all getting something out of it.
Everyone else knew it would be good. Everyone else knew it would be good except for you.
Well, I think it's a good thing that I'm a little humble about it. I mean, it's like, I was like, okay, well, I hope we can, but it's been great.
It's one of those leaps. I mean, all your students in that program are taking a leap that you'll be a huge value add for them. And, you can't always quantify the way that a mentor shows up, like when it comes to dollars and cents. But I think there are several powerful anecdotes within your group of just the number of case start lifts that they're getting, whether they went from like 1 a month to 5. I
mean, it's been awesome. Like, I challenge these doctors a lot. I push them to get me, like, what is your case acceptance rate? Where are the holes? What are we doing? How many did you screen? And I'll never forget, somewhere in the summer, one of the doctors told me, she goes, I didn't even know this kind of production number was possible out of my practice. And I was like, well, what was it? And how much bigger was it? And I was just like floored, because while I have cut back my clinical days, I remember exactly what that felt like, where you're like, oh my goodness. And then when the families are coming in just raving about your services, this specific doctor I'm thinking of is telling me, like, she's like, I'm popping up on the Facebook groups now. She had an influencer go to her office and be treated, which brought then in more patients, and the need is there. And I don't want the doctors to be scared. That is the biggest thing. My mentor has said before, implementation is where everything fails. You can go spend all the money in the world on courses and training, but if you don't have the implementation skills, or you don't have somebody to guide you through that, that is where the ball's going to drop, which is exactly true. I mean, I can say, being on the other side now, seeing where these doctors have struggled, how much money they've spent on all the courses, and then I didn't do any cases at all. It's just like, oh my gosh, because that is the problem. And I tell dentists every day, we are the barrier to this care. We are the ones that are not getting it done for these patients because we don't have the confidence that we need to have to start the case, or how to do it. And that's the gap I bridge. I want to teach you what you need to know, but then I want to hold your hand and get you through it so that you know that it's possible, because you'll never stop. And I know you won't once you start. Yeah.
And this is a story as old as dentistry. Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure the first CE course was like, do a filling, like way hundreds of years ago. And they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do a filling. All I was taught was how to pull teeth. Right. And so, but for implants, for cosmetics, there's no shortage of experts teaching people how to do expert level dentistry, but there is a huge shortage of people holding hands.
Yes, absolutely.
This is why the mentorship model for bringing in an associate is so powerful.
It is.
Because you can have that new associate show up. Mm-hmm. You can be there and build that associate's confidence shoulder to shoulder. And that's been so successful for us. That's why we were a new grad only group for a long time. But I mean, we call this permission, right? We giving permission, and they know how to do it.
Absolutely. Well, that's the whole thing, is when you're looking at any new technique you want to bring into your practice, and then you're like, obviously for us on sleep, it's like these doctors call me and they want to know about the program and what it is that I'm offering and how I'm going to help them break through this or that. And I tell them all the time, if you want information, you can find information pretty much anywhere. Mm-hmm. You can go anywhere you want. I can give you a whole list of CE courses. If you don't want mine, no big deal. Go learn about it from somebody else. But the difference in information and results is huge. Yes. And that is the gap that I want to bridge. And I told you when I started the Sleep Well Mentorship Group that I was not wanting to target dentists that hadn't had training. Do you remember that conversation? Yep. I said, I'm not going to go teach somebody what an AHI score is. Go get that somewhere else, and then I'll tell you actually how to use it. And that has changed since. I mean, I've talked with amazing doctors that I'm happy that are in the group that had like very little training, but that is where the Sleep Well Start came in. I was like, okay, I need a big onboarding course. If they want to join the mentorship group after, fine. If they don't, no big deal. But I will do that so that we can also bridge that gap, because I think the way you explain it to a doctor when they're learning is literally going to be the make or break on how they're having that patient conversation afterwards. And so that's changed a little bit for me too. But there is a big difference in information and results. And I'm the results girl.
You're the results girl. You are, because that's a distilled version of what we do in our practice. I keep coming back to like this model that we've used for a long time. And that's, you come to work at one of our practices, you do it our way. For better or for worse, you're doing it our way, because we have clinical experts saying this is what's best. You're
Absolutely.
one of them. Dr. Hicks is one of them. And we wouldn't do it another way unless we knew another way was better. And I think the advantage here is your Sleep Well Start program, our doctor onboarding program, is come do it our way. Like, this is our recipe. You wouldn't go learn from a chef.
And they need a good recipe. They say it
Yes.
all the time. I want to know how it is that you're doing it.
And wild success might look different for them, but we know this works for not one, not two, but at least a dozen dentists that we've done this for.
Yeah.
And it works really well. This is I feel like the bullet points of this are very limited. There might be 12 bullets to this whole thing. Of course, the bullet.
But again, the bullets are big information.
They're big information.
Then you still got to implement.
You do got to implement.
And that leads me into a segue of an opportunity that I had this year that I really didn't see coming. And I guess it was technically the very end of last year when I got offered to write an article for the Dental Sleep Practice magazine. Mm-hmm. And that I am the biggest fan of that magazine. Like, since inception of sleep in our practice, a few articles in the DSP magazine have been in all of my lectures, and they were for years. And it to me is such a comprehensive update in dental sleep medicine now. Now they're talking about peds. I have this whole thing. Obviously love them. I was absolutely floored to be given the opportunity to write one article. And it turned into a series of articles. And this entire year, every single edition from last December, so the end of last year to now, I have had an article in Dental Sleep Practice magazine. It is crazy to me, because I reflected. I'm just like, oh my gosh, and towards the end of this year, I wrote the third, because he was like, I'm going to let you do like 3 more or whatever. I was like, thank you so much. This has been an incredible opportunity. And then I think I screenshotted the email that I got and sent it to you and my parents. I was just like, he was like, oh, you're not getting off the hook that easy. We need your final edition in October of this year. Yep. It's like, oh my gosh. But I focused those articles on what I thought would blast through the barrier that these doctors had. The first article was titled "The First Thing I Changed." And thank you to the editor, Dr. Kyle Hill, for reading through that with me and making sure it made sense, because I had so much to say in that article.
Yeah.
And the second one was "The First Thing I Got Wrong," which was my favorite, I think, actually, because I got to talk about all the things that other dentists tell me about why they weren't successful in it or why they couldn't do it. And then I asked for permission on the third one. Could I please talk about pediatrics? Like, this will be like just the highlight of the summer for me if I can write an article on pediatrics. And I got to do that. And it was the best. What did I title that one? The best decision I ever made.
Yeah.
And it was kids. And I wrote the final one last week. It's a kind of a Q&A style of all the things doctors ask me in my DMs and when I'm lecturing, and I'm really excited for that one to come out. And we'll see if they have me again. But this year was so fun, and it provided so much opportunities I'm so grateful for, and I'm looking forward to talking about it throughout this season podcast.
Awesome. Well, we're about 25 minutes into this, and I think it'd be a really good time to turn into what we're going to talk about the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So, what are your goals for season 3, Dr. Hale?
I really want to bring some new literature to you guys, which might sound boring, but I want to be constantly providing insight to studies that have come out this year. This year has been a massive, in my opinion, year for orthodontics and dental sleep medicine. Things that I already knew in the trenches, that the amazing airway dentists that I work with and know have proof of happening in their office. We are finally getting literature out there to support it. And so I think the more of that we can provide, the more it's going to empower at least the dentists that are listening to this. So that's definitely a goal that I have. And, I don't know, maybe some more guest lectures. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I think you're right. So much has, like last year when Audrey Ewan's article about the
tonsils and adenoids.
The tonsil and
Yeah,
adenoids.
I think that was March of this year, actually. Yeah, it was really early this year. I could be wrong, but I thought it was this year.
I think it was last year.
Was it?
I thought it was last year. Time has flown. So
true.
But anyways, right now we're operating in these things. People used to call them weeks, but they're going by at the pace of a day now. So I think that's going to be a huge value add, because anyone listening who has, if you're trying to implement sleep in your practice, if you're convinced, that doesn't mean anyone else in your practice is convinced. And hopefully these things will help your dental hygiene team, your dental assistant team, your front office team understand it, not just from the, hey, it works for these group of dentists down in Houston, but this is, these are peer-reviewed articles.
Right.
And we'll talk about bedwetting, we'll talk about growth and development, we'll talk about tonsils and adenoids, we'll talk about disease symptoms, we'll talk about appliances, and there's so much good stuff out there. I think it's going to be really cool, and I think we'll try to keep those episodes kind of shorter, just as like a
educational clips,
just like a and one, I think nothing would work better than, hey, like, let your dental hygienist listen to a 10-minute, 15-minute thing on this article on signs and symptoms and their relation to whatever.
Team integration, I think, would be a great segment. Like, we really need to talk about team integration. I didn't even think about that, but I had a conversation with a new doctor to the mentorship group today, specifically about that, because she had taken all the courses, some years had gone by, there'd been very little ever implemented in the practice. And we had a conversation today about, what does this look like right now in your hygiene team? Does your hygiene, do they screen for sleep apnea? Do they know how to talk about it? And do they believe in it? And the answers to all that was no. And I said, well, this could also stem from your initial fail to launch. I talked about that in my most recent DSP article. There's this failure to launch that happens, which immediately puts people into a defeated sense, which I want to pull you out of. And then I said, you've got to train your teams. You've got to train your teams. You need to do a lunch and learn for your teams. And here are the materials that I have for that, so that you can get them on board, because they need to know that this is safe, effective, validated, and they're not going to hurt anybody. And they need to understand how important it is. So however you need to get that done, I need to help you get that done, because it's the same team that saw her start, try, maybe not do it. So they quit even talking about it. Oh, and now you want to talk about it again. Well, what's changed? Yeah. So we'll talk about team integration too.
I think there's a lot of hurdles to overcome there. The biggest one is going to be, because I think actually not surprisingly, because dentists can be some of the worst people to each other.
Absolutely.
We talk about why we're making the change. Right. And I think one of the objections we hear is, especially since that, I believe it was the Wall Street Journal came out with an article about lip and tongue ties.
We talked about that on the podcast.
Yes.
We did.
And how it's just about the money.
Yeah.
And, not this kind of stuff, if it was just about the money, it wouldn't work. We wouldn't be doing what we wouldn't still be in business.
Right.
Right. And so, because the
community
vets this out super fast.
They do. Absolutely.
And now we're at the place where if you want to if you go on Facebook communities around us, and they go, hey, I'm looking for a dentist, just full stop, not airway dentist, not ortho dentist, not dentist. Dr. Callie Hale is at the top of mind for, 9,000 people, it seems like, all the time. So, and you did that because the outcomes were fantastic.
Yeah, the results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
They do, absolutely.
And I'm thinking, like, something else worth talking about is maybe that leadership and ownership approach, because you're a very charismatic person, and we have, if you didn't know, people think you're charismatic, but there's also dentists who are not charismatic. For
sure. And that's harder. Yeah.
But it's a different journey.
It is.
It's a different journey. I think, you said harder, and I wouldn't say it's harder. I'm going to stick with different, because the areas that you have a strength and a superpower, someone who is not as charismatic might have a superpower. And I think traditionally the superpower is we might call it like a timidness, but I think it's also like a slow to react, which is, I think, a really good thing, because if you're trying to implement sleep dentistry in your practice, especially in the adults, things are going to go not wrong, but things are going to fall into the tail ends of that bell curve of outcomes. And you've got to figure out how to do that. And while the charismatic dentist is very charming and very personal, gets the team on board real easy, the charismatic dentist traditionally is not someone who is a great, let me go solve this. It can turn into Oh my goodness, what was going on?
Absolutely. So I was actually going to say
fire.
that. So the doctors that we have, as soon as you said, like, I don't know that it's harder, it's just very different. So I have both personality styles within the group with multiple doctors. And I would say that the ones that are more reserved, introverted, a little slower to speak, because we all know I speak mosquito, as like my dad likes to say, like super fast. They might be slower to getting to that point, but I feel like they also are extremely methodic. And when they get it, and it's all. Whereas the ones that are like bull in a china shop, which is me in the beginning, it can be harder when you have that moment of crash if you don't have somebody to lift you back up out of it, because we will believe in it wholeheartedly, rightfully so, and be extremely excited about it. But then the minute something goes wrong, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing.
What am I doing here? I'm doing this wrong.
You can have this like almost imposter syndrome sort of thing going on. And I'm like, no, you're doing great. This is exactly what's happened. I've been here before. We've crossed this bridge. You will be fine. This is what you do. And it's like, okay, but both personalities are incredible, wonderful, well-meaning people. And so there's no good or bad with it. It's just a difference in delivery.
So what other goals do you have for season 3?
I want to have a lot of fun. I really like doing this with you. You're silly and I'm serious, and you help me bring out of that seriousness as much as possible. And I'm excited for what 2025 has to hold for us. We have 4 or 5 recording sessions, maybe only 4 more for this year, that we're going to try to get in here and bring you guys the techniques and the implementation and some of the team stuff that we just talked about. And it's going to be a wild ride.
Okay. So are you ready for some questions?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because, one of the things we're going to do, not as like the sleep well journey, but maybe as like your mentorship program, but mostly as the airway dentist, as a recruitment tool, we're going to start professional outreach inside of dentistry. So we're going to go to different meetings, dental meetings, and recruit, something we've not done in the past.
Excited.
And we're pumped. And the question that we get more often is, if someone sees our logo on our t-shirt or something, what do they say?
What's the airway dentist?
That's right. Nice. Nailed it. And what do you think, knowing that you're going to dental conventions, what do you think are going to be the top 3 questions you're going to get if you were sitting at that booth and a general dentist walks by?
What's the airway dentist?
What's the airway dentist? What do you think number 2 is going to be?
Oh, I tried some sleep apnea stuff. Not really for me.
What's the 3rd?
Not really a question, but I don't even know where to start with kids. Can you teach me how to help kids?
Really? You think people are going to ask that? Okay. Callie, what's the airway dentist?
The airway dentist is a group of practices hiring the best dentists that exist to help rid the world of sleep disorder breathing by making sure that their orthodontics is done right the first time.
Nice.
Did you think I would miss that one?
Well, this is not for a grade.
I know, but I mean, just like, of course I can answer that.
Well, we've had a lot of practice too.
True.
A lot of practice from people saying, is that like doing dentistry in an airplane?
Every time. Every time.
Bro, you're killing me with this. Come on. Okay. So what do you say to a dentist who says, oh, man, I tried airway, it just doesn't work?
I say, please tell me more. Where did you do your training?
Yeah.
Okay, blah, blah, blah. Tell me where it went wrong. How can I help you? Because this is extremely rewarding. And I've done over 1,000 cases in the last 5 years. Like, let me help you with this. Do you want to do this or not really? Because if not, do you know how to screen your patients properly? I'll hand them a piece of paper. Please screen your patients and please refer to the airway dentist.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
There's no getting out of it with me.
Good.
You're either going to learn to do it or you're going to learn to refer it.
Well, that's what everyone knows about Callie is it's pressure from all sides.
Yes. Okay. We're just going to do it right. That's all.
All right. And so then what do you say to someone? I mean, this is like an elevator pitch style thing because, you're at the meeting and it's busy.
Sure.
Like, here, I'm gonna modify your 3rd question that you thought you were going to get. And I'm going to say, oh my gosh, Callie, I saw you on Instagram and I saw your before and afters. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited to meet you
right now.
How did you start your airway journey with kids? How did you even get started with that? Is that just putting on like expanders? Sorry, I kind of went with like a childish voice there.
Okay, Kyle's canceled, y'all. He's canceled, and I am now looking for a second podcast host with me from the Sleep Well Journey.
Pays really well.
I love my story. I'm happy to tell them my story. And it was really hard, and it had a lot of trials, ups and downs throughout that. I feel like the first 3 years of being an airway dentist and a restorative dentist was an absolutely crazy experience for me. And one that I'm happy to have gone through, and I'm happy to have hung up my drill and I just do airway now. But I would tell them my story. I would tell them my training, my background, what I thought was the most incredible education you could get in peds, and how I love to teach that now too.
Sweet. Okay.
So let me turn it back on you.
Okay.
Kyle.
Yes.
What are the 3 questions you think we're going to get at the booth? What's the first question you think you're going to get?
They're going to be like, man, that's a nice t-shirt. Where'd you get that?
They're not going to say that.
No. Camille knows what we're talking about. It's an inside joke. But anyways, what do I think we're going to get? I'll probably, like, assuming they're talking to me, who doesn't know nearly as much as you do, you probably would have directed a question they would have asked to me, because they're like, why is this guy here anyways? And that would be a question around, I don't know, it'd probably be operational. They'd probably be asking me operational questions at that point.
Yeah.
But what would the 3 be? What labs do you use?
How much do I get paid?
What patient financing do you use?
Oh gosh, I hope not.
And then how do you pay your doctors? Those would be the 3 I would probably get.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
We don't pay our dentists. It is hugs only.
Thoughts and prayers. Not true. I will say we probably will have the highest paid.
Our dentists they do
in dentistry.
Yeah, no, the stats on that are,
wild.
Yeah. So, but then, yeah. Sorry.
That's good. I'm looking forward to it. So we will be,
it.
Dr. Hicks and I will be speaking at the TDA meeting in May in San Antonio. For you guys wanting to know where we'll be together next, we have almost an entire day. I'm going to go through adult and pediatric screening. I'm going to show before and after cases of pediatric cases and teach a lot about sleep test interpretation. And that will be May 9th, I believe, which is Friday, May 9th, 2025 in San Antonio.
Yeah. And we'll put updated information. Dentists don't register for anything until like 3 weeks before anyway. So,
well, you know what? The ones that are eager and want to hear us and maybe work for us, they'll probably register as soon as possible.
You know what?
Camille
just
would have
slide
registered
into her
as soon
DMs.
as possible. Yeah.
No, I don't have anything else I want to cover. I think we've got
great.
kind of like a cool outline for season 3, and I think we will have a couple of guests, but, yeah. Do you have anything to close out with?
No, but please always reach out to us. You can go to thesleepwelljourney.com. You can send us information, any questions that you have. We would love to answer your questions on these episodes. As soon as they come out, we'll get a lineup of questions that you guys have sent in, and we'll try to cover it. We're really excited. We'll post a lot of things. My Instagram is the Airway Centered Dentist, all spelled out, and we do have an Instagram handle specifically for the Sleep Well Journey.
Awesome. And we would actually really appreciate it, because someone said for the first time you should ask people who listen to this, all whatever 134 of them, to rate the podcast.
Oh, yes.
Apparently that's helpful.
Okay.
I don't know who it's helpful for, but we're going to keep doing this until we run out of SD card space. So,
okay. Yeah, please give us stars or whatever it asks.
Yeah, give us like
please.
3 stars so people know it's a real review. We don't need 5.
No, I really want 5.
Okay, give us 5,
It would hurt
please.
my feelings.
And then write something nice. Say like, Callie's the best, or Kyle, you're a...
Oh my gosh.
Here's some classes on how to do this. Anyways,
thank you guys so much.